What's up, AfterBuzzers? You're watching the AfterBuzz TV after show for The Magicians, Season 1, Episode 11, Remedial Battle Magic. So join us as we break down this episode and give us our thoughts, our predictions, our analysis, all that good stuff. So don't go away.
You're tuning into the destination for TV superfan discussion, AfterBuzz TV. And now, let the buzz begin.
Oh, I love this song.
This is the first time I'm hearing this. I like it.
You haven't heard
I
this
like being surprised by these songs. No.
You're welcome.
I gotta brush up on my electric light orchestra. Guys, welcome to episode 11 of your Magicians after show right here on AfterBuzz TV. As always, my name is Ty Matthews. You can find me on Twitter, on Instagram, at Ty Matthews PMA. As always, my favorite co-host of the land. Who are you? Where can they find you?
Oh, we love you too. Hey, how's it going? I'm Kari Lane. You can find me online at Kari, K-A-R-I-D-L-A-N-E, and Facebook, Kari Lane Actor.
Hi guys, I'm Samantha Benitz. You can find me on Instagram and Twitter at Samantha_Benitz.
Hi, I'm Adrian Snow. You can follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Miss Adrian Snow. That's MSADRINSNOW.
And we're talking emotions today.
Yeah.
We're talking all sorts of emotions.
Yes.
Bottling them up, letting them run
I just
wild.
loved Penny's emotions because that's exactly what I would do. I would just start laughing maniacally.
Yeah, that was interesting how kind of it's such a hard come down.
Yeah.
After they get those emotions back in, all of them feel one to the absolute extreme.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's Alice going crazy with her love for Quentin, and Quentin being terrified of being alone, and Penny just being hysterical.
Elliot being irritable.
Did they cover how long... Wait, can you guys hear me? There we go.
Yeah.
Okay, I was like, hello. Did they cover how long that feels is?
Not really.
But I suspect quite a long time if we're talking about what happened at the end there.
This is true.
So
I
I mean,
don't
if
know.
it's like 5 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever.
I think
But
it's
if it's
maybe
like an hour you had to deal with that, I might be like,
yeah.
I think you're dealing with different levels of it over time.
Oh,
So I think
true.
it's kind of dissipating, but it's also still like...
Yeah.
Waving
I think,
in and out.
And also, if you go too long without
Yeah.
it, it's gonna last a little bit longer.
So depends on how much you drank the night before. Hangover.
Kind of like that.
There you go.
Even Alice mentioned that.
Yeah.
She's like, I think you're hungover from last night from the emotional
Right.
loss.
Overdose.
And that's got to be the most pure hangover.
Yeah.
Just one of emotion. I love
Yeah.
that Quentin just hates everything. He hates the air.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're getting into kind of the last handful of episodes. What do we think of episode 11 of Remedial Battle Magic?
It was like the Beast episode. I feel like we got a lot more of him
We got
than
a
we've
lot.
had, in previous shows before. And I liked kind of how we still didn't get to fully see him, though. So we still kind of had that like cliffhanger and that desire to get to see him again. But we see what he's capable in the scenario spell that we kind of see in the beginning.
Yeah, that probability
Yeah, I was like,
spell.
that's a dream or something.
Yeah, I
and
think
then
she
I'm all,
said
it's
it.
a probability thing. Or,
Yeah.
well, that's what could happen.
Yeah.
I love that.
They used a different voice for the Beast from
Did they?
first season, or first episode. It was more of a youthful
British?
voice. It was still British, but it was. But I just
that
noticed I was
sounded
like,
younger.
this is not the same voice that we heard the first time. So that was interesting to note as
I
well.
think we noticed on the credits there were more than one actor listed for the Beast.
Yeah, there's the
so-
person that does the voice and the person that does the body.
I don't know, maybe they told him to say, hey, bring that pitch up a little bit. Let's make
Maybe,
you sound
I
younger.
don't know. Whoever does the voice for the Beast, I've seen your IMDb picture.
And she says hello.
Incredible.
Hello. No, overall, I liked the episode. It was nice to see, because it kind of gave you a false preview last week where it's just like everyone's crying and dead and that. So that was nice to see that they didn't have to really go through that.
Good old
Right.
It was a good version of just kidding without being annoying.
Yeah,
Because it's not
exactly.
just a dream. It was an actual, they had a reason for it.
Yeah.
It was one potential scenario.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And out of 7, 6 of them they died. So it was like, well, you probably shouldn't. Or out of 7, out of 8.
Right.
Yeah.
Too many.
Like, don't do that.
Too
But
many.
I enjoyed the episode quite a bit, and it had an interesting ending.
Oh man,
Yeah,
we'll
it
get into that for sure.
Yeah.
Out of all of these potential scenarios, almost all of them end in catastrophic death for everyone,
destruction.
except for one where they go into Fillory and just everything turns white. So it's still this element of kind of the unknown, but obviously it's better than everyone
Death.
lying with their neck snapped on the ground and
Exactly.
when they're late for PA.
Yeah.
So
I was shocked seeing Elliot and Margot on the ground. I'm like, wow, they're killing off 2 major characters.
Yeah,
I had a quick thought, like, oh no, they're going Game of Thrones on us here. I wasn't ready for it, but that was good to see that wasn't the case.
Sure.
But you can see, his potential, and obviously we knew that with the Dean in the first few episodes. So clearly he doesn't play any games, and he's ready to get down when they're getting down there.
Man, I would hate to see the Magician's equivalent of the Red Wedding. That would be a gruesome
you are so
scene,
right.
I think we essentially saw it.
I know. Yeah, pretty much.
The fallout.
Yeah, exactly. Lots of blood for sure.
I wish I had seen the Red Wedding like when everyone else saw it.
Oh, right.
Because when I saw it, I already knew like what was going to happen.
Right.
That was a horrible secret that people kept. Like they did a horrible job of keeping.
I had the same thing. Everyone was like the Red Wedding, and they built it up to be this huge thing. And there's an anime called Attack on Titan, which is awesome. Now that is a brutal, violent show. So I actually felt Red Wedding was like meh.
Yeah.
That was nothing. I'm like, there's another show where it's way more.
Because it was so many lead characters killed off.
Sure.
But anyways.
There's nobody I cared about, so I was like,
yeah, if I'm being real, Jon Snow, because we have the same last name, and then
That's right.
that's about it.
Right.
I mean, Jon.
I like Arya.
I like Arya.
No, we've deviated to another show.
Welcome back to the Game
House
of
of
Thrones
Stark
after
wasn't-
show.
Sorry, guys. I threw us all out there with my
I was
reference.
excited for season 6.
So as you said, it is kind of a Beast-centric episode. We get this this kind of ongoing plotline that the Beast is targeting all of these travelers.
I was just gonna say, I'm like the suicides.
Right?
I'm like,
Right?
Poor Joe. Oh my God, Joe.
We love
He's
Joe.
like interchangeable.
Swiss Army Man. That's Alice's parents' marriage is going to suffer because of that.
Yeah.
But
adaptable
Alice,
anatomy.
Adaptable
exactly.
anatomy.
That's
gonna be real.
Alice gets that
50
frantic
years from
phone
now.
call that Joe has killed himself. Penny goes and visits Stanley because he's being plagued by these voices. And Stanley, he says he has a plan. He says that Beast isn't going to make me do shit. And then
takes the gun and
What?
takes his own life.
He just blew his brains out.
he gets the business end of that shotgun.
blew him out. Like that, the actor who plays him is a pretty prominent actor.
MC
so I
Gainey is
assumed
amazing.
they're going to keep him longer than 2 to 3 episodes.
Right.
Not the
No.
case.
Wow, I know that was shocking.
But maybe that's more the point of how shocking it was.
Yeah. I mean, that's intense. The fact that Penny didn't do it is amazing. Well,
Yeah.
Good
and
Iron
also
Will.
Sunderland kind of stepped in and like helped him out.
Sure.
Yes.
Yeah. After he kind of
the patch.
passed out. Yeah. But that's
Passed out. No. That was heart attack overdose.
was that a heart attack?
Yeah.
He said, I look
That's
good for having
That's
a heart
right. That's
attack.
right. Yeah.
he's
And it's
snorting
genetically
cocaine.
blessed. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We get those scenes are so chaotic. How it just kind of rises. It's unpleasant to hear.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's that ringing and the voices,
Yes.
and he's trying to drown it out with music and with cocaine and with alcohol.
I had a hard time concentrating. Up until from the moment they introduced the voice of the Beast with Penny until he was in the hospital, I had a hard time concentrating on the Penny scenes. It was just
Right.
like, I can't pay that sound.
Right, exactly,
It's driving
yeah.
me crazy.
Yeah.
Right. You can understand why he wanted those anxiety pills, a little
Right.
bit before. And it's crazy that the Beast knows how powerful these travelers are and that they do kind of allow a road for magicians to get into places like Fillory where it's
Right.
not allowed.
Right.
So, yeah, you can kind of see in this episode already that there's going to be more than a few obstacles getting there. And I don't know. I'm still feeling like the Beast is going to go after Penny tenfold just because he is such a, important person to get there, I guess.
Sure.
Yeah, without.
Sure.
Well, if he's killing off all the other ones, like, why would you do that? Why would you kill off all your options?
Right.
I mean, that's what, if they don't go with you, they're going to kill themselves. Like, that's what they're going to do. So, the Beast, not as savvy on that point. Like,
he didn't get surprised that nobody wanted to join him. What?
I mean, I didn't want to join you when you torture them mentally for days on end.
Now we noticed at the end. Did you notice their suicide prevention hotline at the end of the episode?
I did, because they
Well,
talked
they have a
about
thing
that,
with Quentin,
and then
too.
Quentin mentioned it as well. So yeah, I was surprised to see that, but
That was
also
good.
it was good.
That was good surprise.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So over because they have to kind of travel to Fillory, and they know that these mercenaries are now roaming around the Netherlands, they've got to kind of arm themselves with battle magic. And so we see all of these awesome scenes and sequences of them practicing in this, we saw this gorgeous wooded...
Well, that lighting was great.
Absolutely, yeah.
Well, attempt to practice.
Right,
Let's say
exactly.
they started not so well.
And then, nothing's happening, so they decide to kind of use this method of literally bottling their emotions.
Hedwig magic.
Exactly. Yeah. What did we think of from Katie? Exactly. Yeah. They kind of like you called it.
I called it like they're gonna get together at some point, but I wanted more. But there'll be more.
There'll be more for sure. But they've got to learn that secret from Katie.
Yes.
Kind of because she's been studying for years and years.
I like that. Meditate,
and
for
that's
10
what
years.
she offered, because we were all wondering like, well, what does Katie really offer? And then I think one of us mentioned she does battle magic. So it was nice to see that that's not something that comes easily, and that she could offer that.
Right.
Because now everyone kind of has like, now everyone's a part of the puzzle essentially.
Right, exactly. And we'll get
and Margot and Elliot are finally part of the puzzle and doing something.
Yeah.
Sure, yeah. And we'll get to what Katie and Julia are doing kind of on their own. But
later.
For now, she gives them this secret to battle magic, so to speak.
Spock mind.
Exactly. I love that very first scene where they're all in that circle and they're all just saying exactly what they mean.
I like your sweater. Do you really?
I know,
yes,
that was so out of
like your sweater.
Are you saying that to be cruel? I love that.
Can I tell you that I wish everyone was like that all the time?
I know.
You say that.
Yes.
You say that now.
Not that I don't think emotions are valid, but because I am kind of like already always kind of like towards Spock mind anyway, it was like kind of like, oh, this is so nice. You're just being really honest and no one's being offended. And that's how I kind of like operate most of the time. So... yeah, emotions are useless. But, like, it was great to see.
I totally forget the name of the movie right now, but there's a movie where, I can't remember, but pretty much people were just...
The Invention of Lying?
They can't lie. Yeah. I hated that movie because I'm like, that's not true. It's not lying. It's just you saying stuff. Because me saying, like, I like your shirt... or hiding that isn't a lie per se. It's more I'm just blurting things out. So I felt that title was mislabeled. So that pissed me off.
The Invention of Lying, I thought it was a valid thing. It was just he didn't go as far with it as much as just being really.
I was very literal with the title.
Really
so it's just you were blunt. That was not lying. It's I'm just going to say what I'm thinking. That's not lying.
Yeah, well,
I think it is. I think it depends on your definition of honesty and your definition of lying.
Yeah,
for sure.
Nobody lied. Nobody lied. That was the thing, and to the point where when you don't lie, I lie on occasion, but I'm not known for being a great liar.
But there's a difference between lying and just blurting things out for like nobody asked you.
But that also depends on your feelings on lies of omission.
Yeah, and also with that particular movie, that a big issue with people who are blunt is that I was just talking about this with my cousin who has the same issue. We're both very blunt people. Is knowing when to shut up. Like, oh, well, I don't like that shirt. It just isn't very flattering on your figure. And what? Well, I just think your figure is more of an A-line. And I feel like if you wear it, like, it's just kind of like,
sure,
nonstop vomit.
I was gonna say verbal diarrhea.
Right, sure.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
that's that kind of thing of like, and then when you have to lie, you're kind of like. I love those shoes.
Yeah.
And so that's the kind of thing.
You don't have to say it. You could just not say it.
Yeah, you could just not say
nothing.
it. But that was the thing.
Unless you're questioned.
Like, that's, for some people, is still a lie. When you don't say anything, that's still, for some people, a lie. So that's what I liked about
something, right.
Invention of Lying. And, like,
I just remember when it came out, I was
the very first lie that he created was, like, so epic and, like, okay, Ricky Gervais, just slap religion in the face. Why don't you?
Anyway, let's rein things back on in.
Sorry, that was saying, but I like how they would just say what you're thinking.
Right, yeah. And
not
so
BS it.
So branching off of that, I love that we get this kind of this split down the middle where Penny and Alice are trying to practice without the bottle because they saw
what if
those.
The bottle breaks?
Right. Oh man.
Because as soon as they're about to drink, I'm like, what happens if it breaks?
Ooh.
Can you not get those emotions back? And then are you going to be stuck?
I think that's something that I was worried about too. That they might toy
that could
with
be a crutch.
if one of them,
Right.
like if Elliot loses his
Yeah,
bottle.
or you lose it. Yeah, exactly.
I was
if you
thinking
just
if he
don't want
didn't
it
drink
back.
it all, like Hercules, if he didn't drink that last little drop, then he became like mortal. Remember that? And
I expected one of them to just say like, emotions are useless, and I don't, because I would be that person. I'd be like, do we really need to go back?
Penny said emotions are bullshit before he downed him, I think, the second time.
I wonder what your emotions taste like.
Who interesting?
Because they drank it.
I guess it depends. It depends on what kind of...
Are they different?
Yeah. It depends how you're feeling.
Sour.
Bitterness.
So we get Penny and Alice kind of trying to get off the bottle, as it were, while Margot and Elliot and Quentin are still practicing using it. Exactly, What do we think of kind of, I guess, I mean, I could see it, a metaphor for sobriety and for, kind of substitution. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, what do we think of this?
I think if it's life or death, it's good to get rid of your emotions. I mean, that's kind of, and that sounds weird, but that's a common thing that I think people are taught in type of military units, is to in some way get rid of their emotions so they can do their job.
Right. Emotions can be inhibiting like that.
They can.
Sure.
I, with that said, think that emotions are very important. As much as I'm like, get rid of them, kill them, burn them, I still think like empathy and understanding is a very important thing to have. But I think if you have to go into a situation, it's like being an assassin, because I always said I could be an assassin if I weren't an actor. Like, you have to kind of be able to separate. I would never actually be an assassin, you guys. But like, you have to be able to kind of go like, I'm going to take this out. It's like Neverending Story Part 2, which has been a big reference I've been making this week.
It's a good movie.
But at the end of the movie, Zaid, the queen, I'm getting real nerd right now.
Let's get it.
She doesn't have emotion. She doesn't have a heart. So when Bastian is offered a wish, he goes, I wish you had a heart. And her heart just like seizes up. And that one tear comes out, and then her entire castle falls down because it's just too much emotion. Because you can't get the job done if you have emotion. So I totally understand why they did that, and why they were resistant to try it without. But they will eventually need to be able to do it without, because you can't rely on that.
You can't have that. Like, you can't go into this unknown territory and be relying on something. It's just like knowing how to fight. Like, people know how to fight with a weapon, and then if you lose your weapon, you need to be able to do hand-to-hand combat.
Right.
So they need to maybe training wheels with the bottle at first, and then go, okay, now I need to zen out and do it. Because what if something happens to it? And then you're like, oh crap, I wish I had studied more and like learned how to do it without it.
And it's kind of a weird lose-lose though, because if you go in there with emotions, then you have the, possibility that you may end up helping someone in need and then killing yourself or something along those lines. Or option B is you go in with no emotions at all, and then somebody needs help and there's no helping hands because they can care less about you. Bye.
Sure.
So,
I don't
it's going to be
think they
interesting.
didn't not care though.
You don't think?
No.
I think it's
some have different reactions. I kind of took it like if you're paired with the wrong person,
practical rather than
emotionless entirely.
Yes. It's like Spock. Like, he would help if you
Spock
need to.
is also half human.
Yes,
which
this is true.
We don't ever consider when we talk about Vulcans. He's not full Vulcan, because if he were full Vulcan, he would not care.
This is
when
true.
his mother, I'm just referencing the first film because I didn't watch the TV show. When his mother dropped off that cliff and he was like, ah, and his dad was just like, he's got that
Live
humanity,
long and
that
prosper.
emotion. So, but it's, you need that emotion. I think if they go completely without emotion,
It's a risk.
it's a risk. Because you're not going to consider like what's going to happen when they're. The whole thing is that you don't consider what happens when you get your emotions
or
back.
their timing. Like, if it's like Animorphs, if they run past their time limit,
then it
and they
wears off.
they lose track of the time with the emotions, or they
Yeah,
lose it.
that's
so
where they kind of
too many other problems.
Tobias.
I love it.
We're worried.
So many branches tonight.
We're very emotional about it. Aha.
Segues. Now let's talk a little bit about Margot and Elliot and their kind of interactions in the show. We get this, obviously we see their interactions with all the bottles and the emotions and everything, but I think really the most kind of raw moment we saw was after Elliot had passed out and Margot has that conversation with Quentin, and she says that, I think he's really not okay.
Yeah.
And he doesn't care. That's the kicker.
I feel like he does care.
Well, she thinks he doesn't care because she says he's broken and he doesn't care about it.
But he did ask Quentin about the Chatwin, the river, or the lake, or
I think they need couples therapy. Margot and Elliot need to go to like couples therapy.
Right.
They need to just hash it out and discuss.
I feel like she's so open to him though, and he is just cut off. She asks him, why can't we be friends, or why aren't we friends like we used to be? And when you get to that level with somebody you really once knew, then that's already a sad place because how did it end up like that? And if you have to be the one to initiate without them kind of being mutual in their feelings, and that's rough.
Well, he killed someone.
Yeah,
he killed someone
and he lost.
I was going to say, I think he lost someone, not that he killed someone.
Yeah,
no. I think it's
he killed someone he cared about.
He killed someone that he loved, and so not only is it that he lost this person, he lost the person before he even killed them because he realized that everything that they had done wasn't real,
right.
And then to have to kill him as well, and Margot wasn't there.
I get it, but still, that's your bestie, and like if you love them, you gotta include them.
He needs to talk about it. He needs to talk about his emotions. That's Quentin's line when he's talking to Katie, when he's like, just because how did he phrase it? It was so good. It's just like, just because you have like issues with someone, then you have, something happens, doesn't mean you don't not care anymore.
I love that. Yeah, I totally agree.
And it's hard because you want to not care so hard, but.
It's like you still do. Just because like you had a falling out doesn't mean you don't care anymore.
Exactly. That was a perfect reference.
Love is the worst.
Bites you and leaves a mark.
Love and affection and sexual attraction.
So speaking of all that, since we're talking about Margot and Elliot, let's talk about how this episode ended.
I totally thought it was going to happen.
She looked at me and did this little
I thought they're gonna kiss, and then like when the three of them are walking in the room, like there's gonna be a threesome.
I looked at her like,
I totally did. I'm like, when they're carrying Quentin, I'm like, right now it's gonna be a threesome. And
when
then
she turned over and did the little rest on her arm, I was like, uh-oh.
Right.
Yeah.
It's going down.
No, she cuddled. I'm like,
yeah.
And then when Quentin did it too, I'm like, Quentin, that's mutual body language.
After Quentin and Elliot bond over Fillory, because Elliot supposedly doesn't remember Fillory, but
lots of wine.
Copious amounts of wine. They bond over that. They retire to the bedroom where Elliot passes out.
Yes.
Quentin and Margot have this very deep conversation, and then cut to the next morning, and
with flashbacks.
It has gone down very, very quick.
They were too short. I must say. I wanted longer flashbacks.
If we can go and see an entire orgy the episode before, you could give me a little bit more.
At least like a good 1,000, 2, 1,000, 3 cut. They're a little more like
the director's cut
in there.
Yes. The rated R, not on television version.
Right, exactly. So not only that,
they were
see
very
them in bed.
Sexy silhouettes, though.
Yeah. So they're all kind of intertwined with each other in bed.
Yeah.
But the real story is who's at the foot of the bed.
Alice.
Oh.
The question is, are they in Quentin's bed?
No, I thought that was Elliot's, right?
Yeah, it's Elliot's.
Okay, because then I wondered, like, what is she doing?
She probably went looking for Quentin.
Being nosy as usual. Proactive as
her face expression said it all.
She's like
that one little
grave
teardrop.
Disappointment and anger is a coming.
Right.
So,
and the question is, like, did they actually really want to have this threesome, or how much was alcohol and heightened emotions a factor?
That seems to be the case.
Right.
Or were they all lonely and needed it? So it's one of those, like, how much this will be into the predictions of how much she forgives him in terms of, like, it didn't mean anything.
I don't know if Alice is the kind of person that's going to buy that.
She'd be like,
I don't like she would be just from her familial background. I mean, it's just sex.
But I mean,
we've been wanting to hook up with Margot.
We've seen her parents hold that philosophy, and she doesn't necessarily share that.
Yeah.
Well, you don't. Yeah, I know. I get that, but especially knowing where they all came from and like having, them literally swallow their emotions back into their system and like freak out and then get drunk and everything's so traumatic, and I don't know, I guess I'm too much of a free spirit. I'm like, well,
super bonding.
Break it down for me how this happened.
Right. So
why wasn't I invited?
Exactly. More the merrier, guys.
Quentin, Elliot, and Margot threesome.
So this is kind of, if you can call this sort of the main core.
Yes.
That's what's going on over there. Let's talk a little bit about Julia and Katie and this whole kind of circle that Richard has gathered in pursuit of summoning a god or a
Their
goddess.
quest.
Yeah, definitely. They track down this guy Bjorn, which I love that scene. They track down. He's like a bloodsucker kind of.
He's a vampire.
And
he was kind of cool.
Yeah, he was. I like that scene. He says, "I'm a person." That's offensive to me.
Yeah.
I'm a person.
I like that they opened up the world in that way.
Yeah.
A part of me was kind of like, are we going the being human route?
Right. Well, we do know in this universe there are vampires, there are lycans, there are pixies, there are shapeshifters.
So we are kind of going that route.
Yeah.
But
it makes sense. Like, you can't have magic in a bubble.
Yeah. And if you go off the Vampire Diaries theme, then like everything is based out of magic.
Right.
Vampires, and they all come out. But
it's in the ripples in the pond that it's been expanding on this show.
I just don't want it to be a whole thing where I'm like having to watch a werewolf and a vampire every week, because that's not what I'm here for. I'm here for the magician.
I don't think they are. It's just gonna be peripheral characters.
Yeah, I like that they
totally
did the
fine. Which is what it did
stereotypes
today.
in there, though. That was funny how he referenced like each of the groups,
Pixies
and he's
are
like,
pigs,
yeah.
lycans are rapists. Shapeshifters went out west for some reason.
I love that because it's so relevant in any world in society. You just look at people and you label them, and that's what they are.
Right. So we get them interacting with him. We get them interacting with this thing that has taken the form of Katie's mother. Yeah, exactly.
That was brilliant.
With a tail, I like that. That was a good little.
That was a good little bit of special effect to give us enough and bring that actress back, which was cool.
Right.
Yeah.
She did a good job.
Yeah, and so basically at every turn they're being told gods are dead. You're not gonna find anything.
Tell them what they really want. You like that? You just want to be whole.
Yeah. I love that. You just want to be whole.
Get out
because
of my head.
There were different Julias that got on the elevator and all that good stuff. But yeah, so they're trying, and Richard is not giving up.
And then Richard set up Julia from the jump.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. It was a test.
It was a
see if she was
test.
worth it.
And she is so sick of tests at this point.
Yeah, she's like, I'm failing and I keep trying.
Right. But what do we think about her being God touched, as they put it?
I love that because I felt like, it was the tainted way of pursuing the first guy to get your result, and then she went about it in a pure way and tried to, pray and say, I want to use this magic and power for good, and closed her eyes and looked like she truly believed and felt it, and then there her answer was, and the goddess specifically spoke to her. So I felt like, okay, then maybe there's good intention coming in the future with this, but it's hard to say. You never know. They still might be able to. Are we talking
Old Testament God? We talking
Greek
mythology God?
It's true.
I liked for her because her original path was like magic was drugs and bad stuff,
right?
And then she changed and realized that was a bad idea, and now this is the honest of like, okay, she realizes there's another option of like, I want to help people. So I felt that was refreshing of like, I was glad something actually happened instead of just like,
Poor
just kidding.
Julia.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see how they portray the idea of gods. If they're going
Are
with
those coins still in that kitchen, by the way? That was
the polygods.
Well, those were all in that dream. Wasn't that a dream?
It was all a dream.
Because it was milk at first, then coins.
Yeah. Damn, you could have made some bank.
Right.
Sorry, continue.
Just with the.
What did you just think of it, you little devil?
I was just like,
what was that smile?
I think with Judeo-Christian gods, we assume that they're always going to be good.
Right.
True.
Right.
And
you think she has ill intentions?
Gabrielle Bouvier is the actress. I've just never known in any type of sci-fi, once a god is introduced, I'm just thinking back to Angel. With the other Afro-Latino goddess that was introduced. She straight up like threw down the gauntlet and burned some shit down. So
don't trust the lady in white is what I saying.
Yeah.
You know?
So I'm curious to see like if people haven't been able to summon a god, and it's like with gods stop listening because we're not good. There might be another side to that. Maybe they stopped summoning the gods because the gods were asking for a little too much.
Right.
So, yeah.
It'll be interesting to see where it goes from here.
This guy who serves her, it's like, what
served
are you
her for
giving
1,000
up?
years. He requires 3 gifts.
And what are these 3 gifts?
How extreme of a gift?
Right, exactly.
I was just talking about Old Testament God versus New Testament God. I'm like, Old Testament God, want your firstborn child.
Right.
New Testament God, I'm good with goat. So like,
we're hoping for the New Testament.
What are we gonna get here? So we'll see.
Interesting.
I still might be misquoting the Bible. I'm not Christian. Take me.
I think you did a good enough paraphrase.
Okay, thank you.
Good enough.
So what do we think is Richard's ultimate end game? He's talked about wanting to kind of go back and change what he did in terms of regards to his son. Do we think it's bigger than that?
I think it's that. I think that's a strong enough thing. I just think that there's so much of a sacrifice to doing that. Like when I think about crap that I want to go back and change, like
all that it would affect. It's like
all
the butterfly
that it would
effect.
affect. But
Butterfly effect,
there
exactly.
was how many things would change just so I could go back and tell not do that thing with that guy.
That's too big of a thing to change because he's a life that would affect other people. I totally am blanking on the name, but there's some show in the 90s where a guy, he goes onto the Titanic and warns them, like, you need to stop that Titanic, and when he can't come back, he disappears. And so his crewmates, it's like 2 other people, and they're like, he disappeared, and they're like, well, in him warning the Titanic, he never ended up being born, because it's like these people didn't meet these people didn't die, and so forth, and it just changes too much history.
Yeah, exactly.
So same idea of like,
I think they're kind of doing that with 11/22/63. Is that something that's happening?
Right.
Yeah, changing history.
Yeah.
So it's one of those, I think his intentions are good, but it's been too long and it's too big of a thing to change.
Yeah, and
like
it's
if his
too
son had died
painful.
like a week ago,
even
maybe,
still,
but even then it's too. I think that's too big to bring back.
If you're toying with the whole idea that everything happens for a reason, then you have to kind of
trust in the plan.
Honor what happens in the past. It's like Back to the Future.
Yep.
Marty, it may have seemed like nothing that your father was like eavesdropping on your mom and then almost got hit by a car, but that was like a life or death thing that needed to happen,
Right.
So,
Avalanche, there we go.
And that's a small thing. Like somebody dying, someone's life no longer being a part of this world is a big thing.
Yes.
And to go back and give them that life, you're messing with stuff that you shouldn't be.
I totally agree. And I think because it is such a huge stake for him, he's going to be using whatever abilities he has. And he may even end up using one of the magicians he, hired to help him, basically, or worked with, just in order to get what he wants at the end. And that's how I feel like his intent could turn malicious. Not with, the thought of doing so, but just the way things may fall. Exactly.
Yes, absolutely.
Sure.
I totally agree.
Using any type of magic for selfish reasons,
right? We've learned that's just bad.
It's not going to end well when you're, even if it is to save someone's life or to stop yourself from getting cancer, like with one of them, or to stop yourself from having suicidal thoughts. It's the tougher parts of life are the tougher parts of life because you have to be able to overcome them. So
magic can't cure everything, right? Can't fix every problem.
If there's any theme that keeps getting hammered home, it's that.
That is for sure the theme.
And we know, if he is successful in summoning a god, we know that absolute power corrupts absolutely. So that could be very bad news for everybody.
Right.
But who knows?
Ooh, maybe they'll summon the god, and the god will have the beat down with the beast.
Right? There you go.
Totally crazy tangent.
Yeah. God versus
I would
beast.
totally watch Gabrielle. Is it Gabrielle? Marcel Gabrielle? Beat down the beast.
Sure.
I worry for her. I think the beast would do ungodly things to her. Like, not in that way, but, know.
Well,
I just thought it was funny phrasing them. Like,
No, I was thinking more of, like, the bunny part 2.
Yeah.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
She's a god.
Right? You gotta
I
think
don't know.
she could do that on a cosmic level.
Right,
she can do
right.
that to your soul.
We just don't know how powerful she is yet. So it'll be cool to see. We saw the coins and the milk, but we got to see what else you got.
Right.
Totally random, but on the Beast, did you guys notice when they were doing the close-up in the alternatives options? I was trying to count his fingers, because remember they were saying he tried to add a
6.
finger? Was there an extra one?
Right. Did he have 6?
In this episode?
Yeah.
I wasn't
It was one of those, like, they did close-ups on his hand that I was like, maybe they're showing this for a reason that we can see it.
I didn't
But then
notice.
couldn't quite count.
Yeah.
So.
Interesting.
I
Did
didn't
you
really
guys
notice
watch
the
it on
first
YouTube?
time.
Did you notice?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, let's make these official. Let's get into some predictions, y'all.
Your AfterBuzz
Now we can do your predictions.
predictions.
Yes. That's the
that was short.
The short one.
Yeah.
No theremin, but I'm okay with it. So who are we starting with? Who's kicking off predictions?
I don't know. You're always so excited. I think you should go
It's
first.
Yeah,
No.
let's switch it up.
Absolutely
That's right over
not.
there.
You're first.
Absolutely not.
You're not going to do it?
Oh, I'm gonna do it.
Start the predictions.
You're going
Who's not
first.
gonna start him off?
Why not?
I'm the lead host, y'all.
I'll go, Mr.
Fine.
I'm a lead host.
Drop that hammer.
So I think we're going to start right where we ended, with Alice sitting at the end of that bed. Couldn't be. I didn't see the preview, so I don't know what they said. But and her not being happy, but it being beneficial in a way that it kind of pulls them into Fillory and having a closer dynamic. I hope they don't. I hope they kind of like let go of the emotionless thing, and then. I think definitely we're going to Fillory next episode.
Sure,
I would
sure.
hope that we're going to Fillory, so it's like a part 2 for the season finale. And then with Julia, I think that her being touched by the god, that's going to be her journey to meet this person, and that's going to lead her into Fillory as well. So I think it's all interconnected.
Okay.
That's my prediction.
I agree. I like that. That was good. I also agree. Alice is going to be steaming. She decided to trust Quentin, and this was the ultimate betrayal, I think, for her, especially given the relationship she saw with her family and her parents. I think she just really did not want that for herself. So now that she saw him partaking in that type of activity, she's like, oh, how could he? And they're definitely going to be on the outs. I think at least for maybe this even season, maybe a few episodes at most. But I do think also this leaves it open for Quentin and Julia to reunite, not only for going to Fillory, but also for going to...
I made the same kind of face.
I'm thinking maybe just romantically, just because he did ask Katie how she was doing. And I think there's always going to be that underlying, desire for requited love there. Yeah,
you don't believe that he's gotten over it, as he says?
Right. I think there's leftover feelings there, but I don't think that discredits his feelings for Alice. I think he definitely likes Alice, but I think there's like something left over there. Yeah, exactly. There's something going on.
Right.
And I agree that when they go to Fillory, they're going to use the goddess probably, and... yeah, I think the goddess versus the beast. I'm kind of down to see that, actually, now that you guys bring that up.
There you go. Kari.
All right, I guess I'll go with that as a out there prediction. They'll bring in Katie and Julia, which will eventually bring in the goddess somehow. Or at least they'll get help from her, like something. Maybe not necessarily she does the fighting, but she gives them an object or gives them a spell or something.
Sure.
Energy that they can take with them. We did see the next time. So, I hope Julia gets to go to Fillory too, because, that's something that she and Quentin have shared. I feel Alice is going to be butthurt for way too long, understandably.
Right.
But something will maybe make her like go, okay, I forgive you. Like either he's going to have, Quentin's going to have a near-death moment, or something
that
serious.
Would be that's
and
always
then she's
the
like,
trick to
okay,
get you
I love you again. I'm sorry. I was mad at you.
You get an easy cop out Quentin with the death. Come on.
And then I don't know what's
Alright.
going to slap him and wake him up, but I hope something slaps Elliot and is like, snap out of it.
Yeah.
Oh,
I
yeah.
think to cheat a little bit, because we did see the next on, we see that Quentin, I don't know if he's blaming Elliot and Margot, but he says,
he
says
is.
you've ruined my life pretty much. So I think
He still participated, just saying.
exactly. That might lead to kind of maybe an ostracization of Elliot and Margot until they're in maybe the clutches of the beast for real this time, not just in a spell. So it could take a big catastrophe to bring everyone back together after this devil's threesome, if you will.
The greater enemy to fight together.
Right?
Yeah.
So we'll
Just
see.
a threesome.
We'll see. It's just a
They're in
threesome.
college. They're
the
not
influence,
married.
too.
Oh, man.
Under
So
the influence.
lots happening. Lots about to happen. But you know what you gotta do? You gotta tune in next week when we're talking episode 12. Actually, you guys will be talking. I won't be here. I'll be in Texas, but I'll be back
Texas.
the very next week talking the next episode. All that good
finale.
stuff. The
When
finale
you're
at
back.
that point. We're already there. But for
Two
now,
more, guys.
remind them who you are, where they can find you.
Yes, my name is Kari Lane. I guess, sorry, we're going down that one.
That's
Kari
all good.
Lane, you can find me at KARIDLANE on Twitter and Instagram, and Kari Lane Actor on Facebook.
And once again, I'm Samantha Benitz. You can find me on Instagram and Twitter at Samantha_Benitz, BENITZ.
And I am Adrian Snow. You can follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Miss Adrian Snow.
As always, my name is Ty Matthews. You can find me on Twitter, on Instagram, at Ty Matthews PMA. Remember, if you're on iTunes, download, rate, review, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. YouTube,
Yes.
thumbs up, comment.
Comments,
and remember, tweet
please.
us, Instagram us. We love talking the magician, so we want to talk about it with y'all. So join us right back here, same bad time, same bad channel, next week, talking episode 12 of The Magicians. But until then, peace!
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz
See you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.